at City Hall today. Dozens of Winnipeggers speaking out, mostly in support of new infill dollars slated to come into our city from the federal government. And as we told you 2 weeks ago, many of these developments will see growth in neighborhoods where some residents aren't exactly supportive. We brought you the story of one such development in St. Norbert. Here's Global's Rosanna Hempel.
Out Cat Macaulay Gautier's back fence in St. Norbert, more than 22 acres known as Lemay Forest stretch north and northeast until the Red River.
Our kids grew up here, and they've just experienced so much nature, wildlife, owls, eagles, pileated woodpeckers, you name it.
In the 30 years Macaulay Gautier's lived in St. Norbert, area residents have skied and walked Lemay Forest trails. But that could be coming to an end soon because this is private land. And Total Development says they want to build affordable, inclusive housing and business space here.
And with the idea of adding housing that can really address Canada's housing crisis.
Professional planner John Winthrop says his client, Total, hasn't filed an application for development yet, but they're talking with the city's administration and engineers about the transformation that Winthrop says would also mean preserving trees.
The idea it's going to be 100% forest and no housing, that certainly is not feasible. We're not looking to clear-cut the land and have zero forest with all housing. We're looking to find that balance and engage people to find that balance.
But Macaulay Gautier worries that won't happen and fears any damage won't be able to be undone.
It's heartbreaking.
The community as a whole is very upset because this forest has been here for a very long time.
Nearby residents like Gerard Toll and Macaulay Gautier are advocating Lemay Forest become a public park.
Global's Rosanna Hempel, and you have the local city councillor, you have the local MLA looking towards trying to resolve this. John Winthrop is with us here live on 680 CJOB. You weathered the storm of a very public heated meeting at the St. Norbert Community Club later that same week. But I do know, having grown up in St. Norbert, you know, the Lemay Forest. But I also know that one of the challenges there and in so many other parts of the city of Winnipeg is having access to sewer and water. So in order to build this, John, there would have to be a lot of dollars invested. Fair statement?
Yes, that's a fair statement. And anyone doing anything down in St. Norbert should be aware, or at least they're aware now today, that the sewage capacity is at or over capacity. There's, without getting into too much engineering detail, there's one pipe serving all of St. Norbert, and it was engineered, constructed, and built in the late 50s, and it's serving all of St. Norbert, everything south of, Kilbridge Drive, and it's over capacity.
I think it also serves parts of Bridgewater and South Point as well.
Yes, it's a little bit wider than just St. Norbert. It's an old piece of infrastructure that I don't know how long it's going to last.
Well, and the solve for this would be either the levels of government buy this property, or there's a land swap. And you're open to both, aren't you, on this?
Yeah, government needs to make a decision on this. The residents have been clamoring very loudly for this for several years now, saying the government should do this. It should be done. It was considered in 2018. It fizzled out, to be honest. It's been hanging over everybody's head out in St. Norbert. The only way we can move forward is if that's decided.
You've put up the sign saying warning private property, no trespassing, violators will be prosecuted. So I think the way I know you and the development community and these types of things, you're hoping that this comes to a head. My sense is make a decision, City Hall, make a decision, Manitoba legislature, whether you're going to move on this now, because I have an owner that's either going to invest the money to build here or just do something. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it's private property, and it's been publicly accessible for us for a number of years that my client is allowed, but we need to move forward. We need to start getting answers. We need to start putting planning in place. It can't go on the way it is either for us or for the residents. They're affected by this as much as we are.
Sure, that that limbo is not good for anybody. But is there any concern by the developer that they may wind up in the same situation as Andrew Marquez? I mean, there was a land transfer deal there. Marquez had some land that the city wanted to build the rapid transit corridor. He got the land, the Parker lands, which is then hotly disputed because, again, it's a forested area. He goes to City Hall to say, okay, I'd like to develop this. He's got a plan. He's ready to rock. And it has been mired at City Hall for years. And that was land that he was given to by the city. And to me, it makes
John's very familiar with this.
It makes, to me, no sense if the city hands it over to then give them the hard time that he's had to develop it. So if I was a developer in this city, and I've said this to Andrew Marquez as he's joined us on the air, I would be very hesitant to ever do a swap or an arrangement like that in the future.
And I know Andrew very well on that project, and that's something I'm trying to avoid with this project, is going through a multi-year process where Andrew tried for like several years, 7 years, more than 7 years, to preserve some of the trees and it was a moving target for him there. And I'm not looking to have a moving target there for here. Let's make a decision. And then if something comes up, again, I'm a housing advocate. My client wants to build housing. If there's a viable piece of land or a partnership or something that allows housing to be constructed, that's something we're willing to listen to.
So big picture, because you presented at City Hall today, and let's get away from St. Norbert and let's talk about Winnipeg, the infill money that will likely come into our city, and you've got people anxiously wanting to build. But we also have pockets of this city where groups oppose, or there just isn't enough sewer water capacity. Is there enough space here to do it in the city of Winnipeg?
Well, that's a very good question. I use an analogy today that it's like planning for housing and getting a house in Winnipeg is like waiting for a bus. A lot of the times, I don't even know where the bus stop is, and it's going down to City Hall and going to the public hearing and hit or miss. And I'd like to have a lot more clarity of where the bus is. The St. Norbert pipe issue only came to light, I'd say, in July. The city of Winnipeg knew about it far longer than that. Again, it's like standing on a portage in Maine, trying to catch a bus, not realizing, oh, this is not even the bus stop. That's how it's done right now. To where are we putting housing is hit or miss. It's a guess. And not until you get into like a public hearing where you suddenly have a lot of opposition from people who are not sure what's going on in your transformation, and you're trying to get a house constructed.
But we're supposed to have secondary plans. We have some, but not everywhere. There's supposed to be more planning done, but not enough, correct?
Yeah. And I'm a planner, and I love planning. I've done secondary plans. A lot of the secondary plans have been used more of a tool to say what's not to happen. Planning at the heart of it is to say where do you want to see things go? Where do you want to aspire to? Where do you want to grow? And then they're being used here as a tool to say, here's where you're not doing something.
In your expertise, have you seen other cities as difficult to develop, either on the infrastructure side? And I've heard about the pipe issue from the councillor, Janice Lukes, out in that direction for several years, saying that there's only one pipe and that's an issue. So either on the hardware side or on the NIMBY side from the residents or at the city level.
I have colleagues from across North America I work with as an accredited planner and clients from across North America. Mutually, everybody agree Winnipeg is the toughest place in Canada, if not North America, to be able to try to get infill housing or do planning or do something. It is extremely challenging to move forward here.
So what's your recommendation to the politicians who want to bring this money in?
That's a bad reputation.
Well,
what has to happen at City Hall, John?
I'm encouraging not just City Hall, but also the provincial government is to really start bringing people along, to really start getting the tree advocates, the parking lot advocates, the heritage advocates together with the housing advocates, and let's start talking and really talking to each other instead of yelling at each other or yelling to councillors at public hearings about what we all want. Let's try to work together. There's balance out there. Other cities do it. We pulled together to save our city in 1997 from a flood. If we were arguing back then about the type of sandbag or the type of sand, we would not have survived that. We are in a housing crisis. It'll sweep over us. We need to talk to each other and work together.
John, appreciate the time. Thanks so very much for joining us.
Thank you.
John Winthrop is a veteran City of Winnipeg planner, professional planner.